Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Major Minor Talk Podcast, your new favorite podcast discussing baseball's top prospects within the NL and AL East. I'll jump in quickly here and say, as promised, today's episode will deliver a deep dive conversation into the Red Sox farm system and top prospects. The following is an extended conversation I had with Sonny, also known as Sox Scoops on Twitter, an avid Red Sox fan who knows more about the franchise than I could ever dream of. All right, so we are here with Sonny, a big Red Sox fan, and he's going to give me some of his thoughts on what could be the greatest farm system in the Major League right now. Sonny, how's it going?
I'm doing good, especially after yesterday. I mean, all three of the big three, homer in the first spring breakout game. I don't know if anybody has it better right now.
I definitely think that's true. So the first question I have for you is, can you give me just your general thoughts on the Red Sox having one of, if not the greatest farm systems in baseball right now?
I think it's just very exciting. I mean, Red Sox fans remember the last time our system was rated this high, 2013, 14, 15, and that was the likes of, Mookie, Xander, Benintendi, Devers, Bradley, guys that helped bring, a championship to the city. And other players that were used to go out and get, complimentary stars to these young guys like Chris Sale, traded Yohan Moncada, who was top prospect in baseball at the time. It's just very versatile. You can do a lot with a great system.
How do you think that their picks over these past couple of years, drafting these players, sending them up through the farm system, have really affected the current outlook on this team?
I think the outlook looks great right now. I mean, the architect of it all, Chaim Bloom, he really came into a system that was decimated, and rightfully so. They won a World Series, and you have no regrets, but they needed to replenish that system, and I think they've really taken advantage of all the opportunities in the draft. Marcelo Meyer, first round pick 2021, and even the comp picks for guys like Guardo Rodriguez and Xander Bogaerts. That's where they got Roman Anthony. That's where they got Christian Campbell. So not just taking advantage of the first round picks, but also these comp picks. And from the looks of it, things are looking great right now. We'll see if these players end up turning into impact big leaguers.
Now, you mentioned him there, Starman, number 2, arguably number 1 prospect in baseball right now, if you don't count Roki Sasaki. Roman Anthony slashed .344 average, .463 OPB, .519 slug in AAA last year. He's the hottest guy around right now. What do you think about him, your franchise here, having arguably the highest rated prospect?
It's great. I mean, he looks like a true potential franchise player. 20 years old, great hit tool, plus pop. The thing that really stands out about him is the great swing decisions. That's something that can translate from level to level. And I could just see him playing in front of that monster for years to come, being perennial all-star.
Now, it means a lot to have a very high-rated prospect in your farm system, and especially at AAA. But, that always doesn't necessarily mean that that player will be called up to the major leagues very quickly. But considering what the Red Sox have the potential to do this season, making major moves in the offseason, getting Bregman and Crochet, do you think that Roman Anthony will make it up to the majors relatively quickly? And how do you think he'll fit in with his fellow major league peers?
Yeah, he's had a very good spring so far, and they have a crowded outfield. Jarren Duran coming off a great year, Wilger Abreu coming off winning a Gold Glove, and sending Ceddanne Rafaela back out to center, where he, looks like an elite outfielder. There's a lot of competition, but Anthony looks like a great player, and I'm not sure he'll break camp with the Red Sox, but you have to think that he'll force himself onto the team by at least the summer.
And my thoughts are, generally, as long as they do something with him and can keep him for long enough to serve their team, and they don't let him walk at any point like they did Mookie, and give another star player to the Dodgers in the future, I think, like you said, can be a franchise player here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mookie is you got a championship out of him. And obviously, you'd love to extend Roman right now and give him that Churio deal, that 8-year extension that buys out those first couple years of free agency, but you don't know, and there's some risk that comes with that. There's been some contracts given out to top prospects that haven't panned out, but Roman looks like a guy that could be a candidate for an extension, and I'm hoping that he's in Boston for a long time.
Now, it means a lot to have the top prospect in baseball, but just the depth that this farm system has. We have Christian Campbell in AAA last year, 286 average, 412 OPP, 486 slug. Another great player, another great outfielder. Like you said, the outfield's a bit crowded already there. But, what are your thoughts on Campbell?
Yeah, Campbell, I mean, he really skyrocketed through the rankings last year. He was, I think, a fourth-round comp pick for Xander, and he really exploded. He has a very unorthodox swing, but if you watch him play, I mean, it results in plus pop and great bat to ball skills. It's things that bat to ball skills that translate from level to level. That's what really sticks out to me about him, and in his defensive versatility too. I know he's been splitting time this spring in the outfield and at second base. I can see him probably slotting in at second base this year, getting some reps out in the outfield too. But I think it just needs to translate to the majors because you watch him play and he's explosive, exciting. 22 years old. It's great to have a prospect like that as your number 2 prospect in the system.
And there are a lot of good prospects in this system. And I was just wondering, it's easy to know, your franchise's top prospects, the guys who you reasonably expect to make a difference in the short term coming up to the major leagues. Is there anyone that you're aware of lower down the ladder? Any prospect that you think could make a breakout, someone to keep your eyes on, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't mentioned Marcel Meyer. That one's clear, part of the big 3. But, the 2 other guys that have been included in top 100 lists just on, various websites are Franklin Arias and, Yolan Cespedes. Both infielders, very young, 19 years old, still refining their skills out, single A, but a lot of potential in playing on the backfield, showcasing their skills years away from the majors, but 2 guys that could either be used as trade chips or develop into, top prospects.
When I was preparing this interview, I remembered last season I had texted you. I was at a AA game, and I was texting you about Alex Hoppe, Hoppe, who was a pitcher who I remember watching him then, had some nasty fastballs, had very high velocity, and checking his stats from last season, 4 wins, 5 losses, about a 5.5 ERA. Good pitching is super important now. What are your thoughts just in general on what the development is like for pitchers in the Red Sox?
Yeah, it's something that they've had to work at, and they've always been able to develop hitters. You look back at their World Series teams, and the best players are players that came through their system, position players. And you've had the John Lesters of the world, you've had the Clay Buckhouses, and they want to get to the point where they're developing those guys. And, I saw a report this morning that they've been watching various pitchers, prospects on the backfields and saying that they've seen stuff that hasn't been in this system in years. And you have to credit that to Andrew Bailey, who they brought in to kind of overhaul the pitching development in the system. And obviously, Craig Breslow being the GM, former pitcher, same with Andrew Bailey, both for the Red Sox. These are guys that are aware. They know how a pitcher's mind works. They know what to look for with pitchers, and I think that makes a big difference. You look at guys like Richard Fitz. They got him from the Yankees. He's on their prospect list. He's probably going to open the season in the rotation because of the injuries. You look at Luis Perales. He's rehabbing from Tommy John. Before he was injured, he was breaking on some top 100 lists. You look at Hunter Dobbins, who could be a depth arm this year. David Sandlin, who they acquired from Kansas City in the John Schreiber trade, topping out at 100 miles per hour. There's some intriguing arms that I hope take that next step. Do they have that ace in their system? No, not from the looks of it, but they have some good potential major league pitchers from the looks of it.
One last major question I have for you here. You talked a bit about the big three, Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony. I also mentioned like the state that the Sox are in now and the potential that they have with this current lineup that they have. They could make a run for it. So do you think that the big three, especially these top prospects in the system, do you think that they could be the key for the Sox to return to the postseason after a 4-year drought, maybe even win a World Series?
Absolutely. I mean, depth is key. You look at the last couple of years. They lost Tristan Cassis last year for the majority of the year. They've lost Trevor Story each of the last couple of years to various injuries. Um, Devers has been banged up. Just having the big three in the minors able to come up at various points during the year and supplement the talent that's already there. I mean, that's the difference from having a replacement level player replacing these stars with injuries, opposed to a top prospect who is bringing all of that potential to these positions. And I think, yeah, I do think that is the key. Whether it's positional depth or pitching depth, you got to have it. You look at the Dodgers last year; they used about 19, 20 pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game now. I mean, pitchers are volatile. Hitters, you have to go through 162 games. Not everybody can do that. So yeah, I think it's great to have these prospects to supplement this talent at the major leagues.
Is there anything you feel I've left out that you think is an important mention here?
Just one last note. I think even after the Crochet trade, giving up Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Chase Mydroth, other prospects that were ranked in their top 30, and that they're still considered to be a top 5, if not the best system in baseball. I think that's really telling. The goal for them is to have consistent winning, and that's something, you love World Series. That's the goal. I think, for John Henry and the owners, they've gotten 4 of them spaced out. They want to be able to get back to the playoffs every year. But for me personally, I'll just take a World Series every 5 or so years.
And that was our conversation. I hope you enjoyed hearing a bit about baseball's greatest current farm system. If you'd like to follow the show on X, formerly known as Twitter, the link can be found within the description below. And please be sure to subscribe in order to keep updated whenever our next episode is released. Take it easy out there.